Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Elevating Your Life with Paula Vail. I am so happy to have you joining us today. I am thrilled to have with us again for her second time. I just fell in love with her energy and inspiration. We have with us today Bridget Finklaire. She is an author and spiritual teacher with almost 30 years of experience. She is a qualified and experienced psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, and healer, and was a professional therapist in London's Harley Street. Bridget left England in 2012 for Cape Town, where she now lives in South Africa with her husband. She loves teaching, writing, speaking, weaving together the threads of her spiritual and professional journeys. She designed the Bone Circle, which we are going to talk about today, a unique, transformative, and life-changing program that just does so much. So let's begin with a big welcome, Bridget. Thank you for joining us again. I love it.
Thank you, Paula, for inviting me back. It's so lovely to be here and see you again and chat again with you. And thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Oh, you're so welcome. Oh, there's just so much that I just love sharing that you do and you do for others. And oh my gosh. Well, let's begin first with a little bit about your book and what that is, so the listeners can check it out and get that amazing book.
Thank you, Paula. So Red Dress, a novel, is my book, which was launched. It's launched and out there now. Last time we spoke, it was just before launch, but it's out there now and it's got some really good feedback. Go check it out so you can get it anywhere. There's some good reviews on Amazon. I'm getting some 5-star reviews. People are really enjoying reading it. So we've got a different perspective on it now. So it's a novel and it can be taken at different levels. You can just see it as a fun novel about this woman who's kind of stressed out and she's in her 40s. She's got 2 teenage kids and her marriage isn't very great. And she embarks on a spiritual journey of awakening to find a pathway to freedom and a pathway to herself, really, and understanding who she is and what her core values are. And you can also just see it as kind of looking at relationship dynamics and how things fall apart. It's very real. You know, a lot of people really relate to Katie, a lot of women particularly, really relate to her as the central character. She's stressed out and she's trying to juggle work and life and kids and all the rest of it. And a lot of women say they really see themselves in Katie. And so you can look at it as that, but also everything that she does on this spiritual journey is a real thing. So she meditates and even says in Red Dress how she meditates, very simple outline of what she does. And that's a real true meditation technique and the reader can take that and go try it out. She's a Reiki master and some of the things that the adventures she gets up to in Red Dress, she goes and has her soul contract read and she goes and does aura soma, and all of these things are real things that the reader, if they fancy doing that, they can Google that and go and find out more and go and do it. And there's a lot of pearls of wisdom that's shared by a benevolent voice that's kind of guiding her, and those wisdoms that voice is sharing are really real true things. So you can take it as a spiritual teaching if you want to, or you can just take it as a fun book if you want to. So a lot of people have been saying it's a real page turner. They're really excited to be reading the story. And it's actually the first in a trilogy of books. So since we last spoke, Paula, I've been needing to get back to writing that second book. I'm about 1/3 of the way through it. And it all got left because of this Red Dress being launched and other things happening. And I've been doing a lot of spiritual teaching because we're living in interesting times and we need a lot of prayer and a lot of spiritual work. So I've been doing that. But I want to get back to writing that sequel. So it's a fun read, Red Dress, a novel.
It is, and it is fun. I absolutely loved it. And it's, I believe, available on Amazon. And anything else you'd like to share where they can get a copy of that book?
Yep, you can get a copy more or less anywhere books are sold. It's on Amazon.com, it's in Barnes and Noble, any your local bookstore. If they haven't got it in stock, you can order it. Or you can go to johnhuntpublishing.com, which is the publisher. Just search for Red Dress, a novel, or Red Dress Bridget Finklaire. And there's a page on there, and that's got links to where you can buy it. And you can buy it as an ebook, and you can buy it on all the normal places, or you can buy it as a paperback as well. So you can get it more or less anywhere in USA and in Europe as well.
I
So
love it. I love
take a
it.
look there.
Oh, and it is fantastic. It is fantastic. Well, let's jump into what I am so excited to hear more about is the Bone Circle, the
Okay.
program that you have created. Tell us first why you created it, what triggered you, and then, share what this amazing experience is.
Okay, wow, that's a great question, Paula. So why did I create it? That's the biggest question. Fabulous. I created it because I got all these kind of strings of experience, if you like, over this 30-year journey of spiritual awakening, if you like. So I had a whole kind of area of understanding spiritual teachings right the way back to sort of when I used to work years ago in feng shui, and we talked about that last time, hey, and then Reiki and teaching meditation, and now teaching the Keys of Enoch, and I've taught yoga as well. So there's a lot of lifestyle things and being fully present, being mindful, all of that sort of spiritual stuff that I've got a lot of wisdom there to teach. And then I've also was trained as a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist, and I worked for 15 years professionally, and 3 of those years was in Harley Street in London. So I've got a lot of information there as well at my fingertips around how to heal the past, how we can look at what's going on and heal some of that if we had traumas or difficult things that happened. Lots and lots of tools in the toolbox, lots of modern things, lots of energy healings. So that had that. And then about 12 years, no, a little bit less than that, maybe 10 years ago now, I went and did this training in my intuition, when I trained to tap at will into my intuition. Now, we all have intuition, and some people are more intuitive than others, but it doesn't always come when you want it. It comes when it decides to come. So this training was for you to be able to actually tap into that whenever you wanted to, and to use intuition to guide your life. And it was a very, very powerful training, and it was that training actually that led me to come to South Africa, because I wanted to test this thing out. Does this thing really work? I'm going to test it out. So I did, and it brought me to South Africa, and I absolutely love it here. So I wanted to weave that in as well. So I wanted to teach that, but the way it had been taught was quite what I would call the masculine way. It was about creating things. A lot of it was about creating things. And I thought, no, there's a feminine way here. And it's not always about creating things. It's about creating your life. It's about creating the things that you love. And the things that we love can be nothing to do with things we have. Hey, things we love might be having a chat with a favorite girlfriend, or going to a favorite place, or just listening to the birds singing, or things that we love doing. Maybe we love painting or walking in nature, or there's all sorts of things. So I thought, no, we could use this for creating your life. And then I had an even better idea, that what if we used it to create the life you're here to live? What if we used this work to actually create, when your soul decided to come here and have this life, it had an idea of what it wanted to do. And we get drawn away from that in real life, because we get educated at school, and the school teacher says, oh, you're good at this. And then your mom and your dad have an idea about what you should do. And then maybe your friend has an idea, and society has an idea. And then you get married and you have kids, and you lose sight of who you are. So sometimes we lose track of what we're meant to be doing. And somewhere in the back of our mind we know, but we never go for it. And you often hear people, don't you? You hear people saying things like, oh, I've got a book inside of me, or I've always wanted to play piano, or I've always wanted to live in a warm climate, or, something. I wish I could just give up my job and do gardening or something. And people have these things, but they never actually follow that. And that's because we sabotage ourselves all the time. So I thought, what if we could take everything that I know and put it together to create a training that allows you to overcome some of that conditioning and some of that fear, some of that sabotage, tap into what's really true for you and be able to create it. So that's how and why I started the Bone Circle. Actually, I'll tell you what, there's another bit of a story. Sorry, you know me, Paula. I always just like talking too much.
We love stories. We love stories.
There's a bit of a story behind this, because before I created the Bone Circle, I used to do some coaching work because I'd been a therapist, and I used to do a bit of coaching work. And in that coaching, it was intuitive coaching. So I would do a little bit of therapy work with people, a little bit of spiritual work with people, and a little bit of teaching them to use their intuition. And I'd been doing it one-to-one. Now, I'd come from living in London to living in Cape Town. And my London clients, we could do that online and they could afford my fees. And I'll be honest with you, people in Cape Town in South Africa, they don't earn the same amount of money and they couldn't really afford my fees. Well, I had two girlfriends and their lives were, I wouldn't say it's a mess, but they weren't really very happy in their lives. One of them had just been made redundant and wasn't sure what she wanted to do. She couldn't find a partner. She was single. She didn't know where she wanted to live. She felt very directionless. And the other one was a very stressed out single mom who'd been through a divorce. She had two young boys, not young, I think they were about 8 and 10 at the time, boys. And she was working full time and she'd lost sight of who she was. And one day I was talking to her in a cafe and we were sitting and we were chatting, and I said to her, and she was saying, oh, I don't know what to do, and I've got no money and I've got no time and da da da. And I thought, you know what, you really need to do this coaching with me. And I said, you know what, you should do the coaching with me, but I'm really sorry, I can't give it to you for free. And that's because people don't really value things when you give them to them for free. So I said, I can't give it to you for free, and I know you can't afford it. And then on the way home, I had this idea. She can't afford it, but what if I had 5 people or 10 people or 20 people and I taught them all together? Then they could all pay a smaller fee and they could all afford it.
Oh.
So that's actually another reason why I did the Bone Circle, was really for my friend, because I wanted her to get the benefit of my work, but I wanted to charge what I knew I was worth. So that very, very first Bone Circle that I taught, I sort of said to myself, if I get 5 people, it will be worth it, I'll do it. And I actually had 15 people altogether.
Oh, wonderful.
So that's how the Bone Circle started. But I'm about to upgrade it, Paula, because I was teaching it in person, and I want this to be accessible to more people. And because of everything we're going through now with lockdowns and COVID and all the rest of it, it's not easy to get to my house and to have gatherings in person. But also, I don't want to just be limited to teaching it in Cape Town. I want to be able to teach that to anybody in the world who speaks English. So it's in the process, about to go online. I'm in the process of upgrading it.
I love that. I love that. Oh, and in the Bone Circle, something you do a lot of helping people become successful by combining and working their professionalism together with their spirituality. Tell us a bit about that, how that can come together and expand for us and create.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people keep it separate, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They have their
Yes,
spirituality over here,
we
and then
see
they've
it
got
as
their
this
work
and
over
this.
there.
Yes.
And then they must never meet, you know.
Yes.
And actually, I was like that for a long time, because I had this professional journey as a psychotherapist. And then I had this journey at home with, meditating and doing yoga, and they never sort of crossed. And eventually they did. And when it does, it becomes very powerful, because what you're actually doing is coming into balance. Because when you're all spiritual and you don't do any kind of going out there and doing any kind of professional work, you can kind of get lost in that and become very directionless. And if on the other hand, you're going out there with your professional work and you're going out there to be successful and, get that job or make that career happen or get that business off the ground, you can lose sight of the spiritual side. and you get out of balance. And I think a lot of people go into professional work and they get burnt out, particularly women, because they're kind of trying to look after kids maybe in a house as well, and they can easily burn out. And I've done that. I've been there and done that, so I know what that feels like. So when we can bring the spiritual side in, we can bring it much more into balance. And I think there's lots of things that you can do to do that. One of them is intuition. You know, you can bring your intuition into your workspace, because we've all got that little voice inside that kind of knows, but we bat it away and go, oh no, I'm not going to do that because this consultant over here has told me something else, you know, and or somebody's told me I need to do this, and actually that doesn't feel right to me. My gut instinct is telling me something different. So just learning to tune in to that small voice and listen to that and go on your instincts, and have the courage, even if it feels like it's not logical, to have the courage to listen to that knowing within yourself and follow it. I think that's one thing where you can bring that into your professional life. And another thing is setting intention. I think it's very powerful to choose things, to make choices in life. And that's part of the bone circle training, is that we make choices about things. I don't call them goals. We don't say that you've got a goal to do something, because for me, a goal is something that your small self, your identity is, I've got to get this goal, and it puts you under pressure. Whereas if you say, I've got this vision that I want to create, and I'm going to choose to create this. You know, I don't know, maybe you've got an idea for a business and you go, I'd really love to have I don't know, I'm going to make something up. I'd love to have a business making cupcakes or something, like gluten-free cupcakes or something like that. And I've got this idea for it, but I don't know where that's going to work. You see, that's where the sabotage comes in. Oh, but I don't know, I haven't got the money and I need to do this first. And maybe there's too many people making cupcakes on the market, and so down the road is better than me. Well, you've got to kind of get over that sabotage and make the choice. And if you go, no, I'm going to choose to do this because I'd love to do it for no other reason, because I just love making cupcakes and I need to go gluten-free or whatever it is. I'm just going to love what it doesn't matter what it is you're choosing to do, whether it's making a podcast or writing a book or anything, or just being a mom, you know, at home. You just choose. And in choosing, there's a real power, because the universe applauds action. And when we make a choice, it's like a road opens up energetically to that thing. And when you then intend it, it's got a real energy to it. It's got a real power to it. I used to say to people, like, if you say to yourself, I actually first did this with my daughter who wanted to be an actor ages ago, and I said, listen to this. If you tell yourself this, and which one feels more powerful? I want to be an actor. I'm choosing to be an actor, or I'm intending to be an actor. And she went, oh gosh, if I'm intending to be an actor, that's got real motivation behind it. So I think you can bring that into your profession as well, this idea of choosing and intending the end results and the visions that you want to create. So that's another thing you can bring in. Another thing I used to do years ago when I worked in Harley Street, because I think if they've been anybody, all the other sort of psychologists, psychologists, therapists and clinical counsellors and things, if they knew what I was up to in my consulting room, I'm sure they may not have been approved entirely, but I used to space clear my office before anybody came in. I had sage, and I'd quickly go around with a bit of sage and just clear that space. And I think one day they said, no, you can't do that. I think that you couldn't, it's something to do with fire laws. You couldn't light candles and things. So I said, well, all right, then I'm just going to call the angels in. So you can do that in your office space or in your private space. I think another thing you can do to connect spiritual with professional is surrendering. If you know what you want and you know where you're heading and you've made that choice for that vision and you've intended it, all sorts of opportunities can open up. And when you surrender to those and you surrender to what is, rather than trying to control it and go, but that's not how I was going to do it, I was going to go this way, but surrender to what's actually appearing in your life, what opportunities are there, and go with the flow of that. And then, of course, the other one that I really think of in terms of moving those two things together is things like breath work and taking a bit of time out, because sometimes we can get really busy at work and get really stressed and our head's in a spin, and that's when you go and have a cup of coffee. And actually, if you could just find a quiet space, it might be the boardroom or it might be the bathroom, but if you can find a quiet space and just close the eyes and just do a little bit of breath work, and you have to do that. years ago, I used to have this a CD of relaxation techniques, and one was called the Zen Karma, and Calmer rather than Karma, Zen Karma, and all it was 3 minutes of breath work with your eyes closed, and in that 3 minutes you can reset yourself, and you can go, and in that 3 minutes you can just calm everything down and get real clarity. So I think those are just a few ideas that I'm going to throw out there for you.
I love it. I love it. And I loved your statement about the difference in the energy of a goal to a vision. Because a goal is like, oh, I must get this done. I must do that. And it's almost a weight on you. Where a vision, it's, I'm creating that. I'm doing the work. I'm taking the steps. I see it. And it's actually uplifting, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I teach in the Bone Circle, the difference between a goal and a vision. And you're absolutely right. The goal can get you down. I've got to get there. And often with goals, people have times involved. There's a deadline there. Whereas with a vision, you just keep going till you create it. If you think about someone who's a total creative, like they're creating a piece of music or a piece of art or a painting, or even if you're just creating a cake, you have a vision of, I want to do this. I want to create this painting of a flower, say. And then you don't stress about it, do you? You just like get your paints out and you're going to paint this flower. And if it's not quite right, you'll just change it a little bit, and you just keep going till it's like you want it to be. And that's how it can be with a vision with your life, is it doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't have to be, well, it's got to be exactly like this. You can say, this is the vision I've got. And, I've gone, this is a bit of serendipity here. Something went wrong, but it actually ended up being better. And, then you're in a creative process and it can be fun.
And we can throw in a little intuition. Oh, this came to me. I think I'm going to add that to my vision and throw that in there.
Exactly. And then it becomes really fun. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that can be just an exciting ride, can't it?
Absolutely. Yes. And it is a ride. That's a really good way of putting it, Paula, because, sometimes it's a bit like this when you're creating something. You're not sure if this is going to work. And as you said, then you have an idea to put something else. And maybe you did something there and it wasn't quite right, but that's given you an idea to do something. And I think, well, I'll tell you, as a writer, as an author, this happened to me all the time. Like some days I'd be writing Red Dress and I'd be thinking, oh, this isn't bad, actually. I've had a great idea for what I'm going to get her to do, and or her friend is going to be like this, or whatever's going to happen. And I had this idea and I'd be really excited and I'd write it and I think, oh, this is quite good. And then other days I'd look at it and think, nobody's going to read. This is rubbish. Because that's what we're like. It's the same book. One day you can think, oh, this is brilliant. And another day you can doubt yourself. And it's a journey, isn't it? But if you've chosen to write a book, you keep going regardless, because you know that maybe tomorrow you'll think it's good again. So you just carry on because you're going to create the book, and then eventually the public will decide whether it's good or not.
Yes.
So yeah.
And
it's a fun ride.
When we do that, that's just how we are. It's our makeup. There's always, when we're excited, there's always when we're a little fearful and doubt, can I really do this? And yes, I can, yes, I can.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Because that's the little self. And again, it goes back to the Bone Circle, where one of the first things I teach is that you have a greater self, which is like your soul self, and it's your luminous divine self. And when you hear people who've had near-death experiences, they always say, I'm this huge luminous self and I've got to get back into this tiny little body. So you've got this huge luminous self and then you've got this small self. And I think most of us think we're the small self and that we've got a bigger self. But I say it's the other way around. We are a bigger self and we've got a small self. And the small self is this sort of earthly suit. But that bigger self has got to express itself through us here. So we've got to work in harmony. Now the little self gets frightened and the little self goes, oh, can I do that? Or am I good enough? Or have I got the energy to do that? Or am I powerful enough to do that? And that's where the doubts and fears come in. Mm-hmm. But the lumen, it's up to us to say, to go, it's okay, I've got this, we've got this, we can do it, rather than listening to that voice that goes, oh, I don't think I'm good enough. We've got to go, I hear you, but we can do it. I've got this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience? Some last words of, what would you like them to think about today, to put out there for themselves? What would that be?
I think the thing about choice that we were talking about is really powerful, and stillness as well. When we talked about breath work, to be still and understand the direction you're heading in and make a choice to go in that direction. I do want to just say that we talked earlier last time, I think, or something about that saying, if you want to, it's an African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. And the reason it's called the bone circle is it's a circle of people. So there's no hierarchy, there's nobody at the top leading it. Everybody's equal in that circle, and everybody can help each other out. No man is an island, and many hands make light work. Ask people to help you, do things with other people, collaborate. It's your creation, it's your vision, you're choosing what you want to do, but there will be people along the way who can help you. And if you think of any of those great films, where they're on an adventure, they never do it on their own. They've always got their friends there to help them. So be with your friends and like-minded people and go on this journey with them and make your choices about the visions you want to create.
Oh, I love that, because yes, isn't it so wonderful when we, connect with others and support others, they support us. Oh, it just creates something so much bigger than one other person could create, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I always think about in the olden days, the women sitting around the table making quilts and things like that. No, one woman couldn't make that whole quilt. It has to have the whole lot.
Yes.
Or like when you've got a great big dinner with a big family and everybody's made a dish and they all bring something. And then it's such fun, isn't it? Because everybody's brought their thing and they're all sitting around the table. And when you've got a whole load of people clearing the table afterwards and washing the dishes, it all happens really quickly and really easily and really effortlessly. And if we can help each other out like that, I think what goes around comes around. And, so other people help us, we help other people, and it creates this kind of whole network of strength and light and love and connection. And that's what's important. Human beings, we all want connection. And that's how we get connection, is to work together.
Oh, powerful words. Oh my gosh, that is such a beautiful message, Bridget. Oh my gosh. Well, is there anything you'd like to share, about Red Dress, or if they can learn more about you? What would you like to share with everyone?
Please do take a look at Red Dress. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of wisdom, but it's done in a really fun, accessible way. It's an enjoyable read and it's a page turner, but there's real nuggets of wisdom. And if you want to know more about my work, about the Bone Circle, about Red Dress, please go and visit my website. It's bridgetfinklaire.com, and it's on there is a page about the Bone Circle. You can sign up for my newsletter. I don't send it out too often because there's only me. I don't have that much time. But if there's any important news like book signings or tours, or if I'm launching the Bone Circle when it's up and running, or if you want to go on the waiting list for that, please go to my website and have a look. And if you have read Red Dress already and you loved it, please review it on Amazon, because I need to get 50 reviews on Amazon. So whatever you think of it, an honest review. If you have read it, I would love it if you could review on Amazon. Otherwise, visit me on my website.
Yay, I love it. Oh, Bridget, thank you so much. This has been so fantastic.
Paula, thank you. I always love talking to you. It's wonderful. And there's that teamwork and connection, hey, the two of us.
Yes. Yeah. Together we make a difference. Together we support each other. Everyone out there, thank you for joining Bridget and I today. We are so grateful to have you part of this energy circle. Love, hugs, and blessings. Bridget, love, hugs, and blessings.
Love, hugs, and blessings to you and to everybody listening.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.